Implementing your own memory system in Claude Code with active memory that it can read every turn is a lot trickier than you would imagine. So in my previous video I talked about the observational memory patterns I set up for my agentic system, and I did this with OpenClaw and it worked really well. But then once I couldn't use OpenClaw anymore because of the anthropic ban from my Max plan, I decided to build it in Claude Code, which I thought, I'll just try and port this over, which unfortunately was nowhere near as easy as I thought it was going to be. So with OpenClaw I was just passing in all of the observational memory with each turn, but with Claude Codes there's no way of doing that. You've got a Claude.md file you can use, but this is massively capped at the amount of characters it can have in it. And well, it's not capped, but they recommend that you don't put too much in it. I didn't know why, so I was just putting stuff in there. But what it means is that every sub-agent that you spawn from within Claude will also inherit that Claude.md file. So if you've got it full of like huge amounts of memory that are only really relevant to the main thread, all of the sub-agents got them. And I was churning through tokens and I didn't know why. And it turned out this was the reason. So I had to think of a way of getting around this, and this is actually a really complicated problem to solve. It was surprisingly complicated. So what I've ended up with is a sort of a bit of a hack, really. So at session start, so that's when when the session compacts and when you started up for that session, it injects. You can use hooks to inject information at certain points, and session start is one of those. You can also do it with tool calls, which I tried, but then I figured out that when I was doing it with a tool call, I'll use a turn call, and that was being injected at every turn, and if anything changed slightly, it busted the cache. So the way to do it is at session start. So, but then you've only got a 20,000 character max limit you can pass in from a hook before it truncates it and does a pointer to a file, which is not great, because that means that the agent hasn't got the memory there in each turn. It has to look up a file to actually pull those in. So I had to think of a way around it. So the best way I found was inside of Claude, inside the Claude.md file. Instead of putting all of the information in, I put pointers to the files where the information was, and then when the session start hook fired, it passed in a summary of all those files, which is like a cut down version, which is under 20,000 characters, so it had the gist of it in case anything went wrong, and then instructions to look at the Claude.md and read the files from the links in the Claude.md. If you don't @link them, they're not pulled in. If you @link them, they are pulled in, and that was the problem. I was @linking like my agent's identity, their soul, all of their memory was coming into all of the sub-agents, and then these hooks don't fire on the sub-agents, which means that the sub-agents don't get the memories, which means that my tokens were then optimized. But this is a bit of a convoluted conversation, there's a bit of a weird way of describing it, but hopefully it makes sense and go out and make some cool shit.